Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. Readers of freedomsphoenix.com are constantly provided the information that detail the real news between the lines of propaganda about government policies and the true relationship we all have with coercive governments. Learn the true condition of our economy, innovations and technological breakthroughs in energy, health, computer science, and space travel. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the mainstream media, the media that is so last century. Corporate media has evolved into nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but we now have a fantastic alternative. FreedomsPhoenix.com provides constant news updates on the issues that affect our lives in the most important ways. Our liberty and our property are under constant attack, and FreedomsPhoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda while encouraging the participation of our readers. Join us at FreedomsPhoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, Phoenix.com. FreedomsPhoenix.com, where the revolution between the ears has already matured.
Freedom's the answer. What's the question? You're listening to Ernest Hancock.
Yeah, what we fighting for here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, each and every day from the beautiful studios of Freedoms with an S, freedomsphoenix.com here in Phoenix, Arizona. Well, we're all doing very well except for my left eye, but, you know, we'll get chemtrails. Now, what we're going to do is we're talking with Chris Hellman from National Priorities Project, and I want to make sure Chris gets to fully express himself because he represents a large segment of society that wants, I guess the word, you know, if you were going to, you know, try and encapsulate it in one collective, you call it social justice. You know, we need to have a balance here. It's kind of, and Eisenhower talked about that very thing. He was going, only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals so that security and liberty may prosper together. A knowledgeable citizenry only a knowledgeable citizenry can compel. It's always going to be force. Force of what? Of the vote. Well, I say they control the voting with computers or whatever, so it doesn't matter anyway. But, you know, think about that. Compel. Now, he went on. Now, this is the part that got all the attention with Eisenhower in his speech, his farewell. You know, here's the supreme, you know, Allied commander becomes president, and I think he, you know, had, you know, kind of concerns, and he wanted to share in his last speech. You didn't hear anything from him after that. He's like, you know, hey, I did my bit, man. I warned you. And in a lot of his writings and so on, he would say, he goes, you know, I fear for the next president, somebody comes in here doesn't know what the heck's going on. And I think JFK knew enough what was going on. That's how he winds up dead. So I'm going, all right. Then he says, the very next paragraph, akin to and largely responsible for the sweeping changes in our industrial military posture has been the technological revolution during recent decades. Now, keep in mind, this is January 1961. Okay, what are we, 50 years later? You know, this, you know, long time ago. In this revolution, research has become central. It also becomes more formalized, complex, and costly. A steadily increasing share is conducted for, by, or at the direction of the federal government. Today, the solitary inventor, tinkering in his shop, has been overshadowed by task forces of scientists in laboratories and testing fields. In the same fashion, the Free University, historically the fountainhead of free ideas and scientific discovery, has experienced a revolution in the conduct of research. Partly because of the huge costs involved, a government contract becomes virtually a substitute for intellectual curiosity. Then he goes on. Now, my point is this. You go out and you have all school-age children taking their tests and they get their SATs and they, you know, doing their iPad, pod mental scanning, I can make the ball go and meditation level and everything and writing in Facebook, MySpace, everything online. You know what? They know who the technological superior intellectual Zimmerman, Facebooking kind of guys are. They go, oh, it's just like the movie Serenity, Firefly. You got River Thames, this genius girl, and the state goes and plucks her and says, you're in the service of the state now. This is happening not later. This happens now. And if we don't have a philosophy of what the proper role of government is, that everything that you do, if it is not in defense of individual liberty, a technological ruling elite that will compel through our peaceful processes whatever the hell it is that they want to do. And I'm about keeping my money. I want my money. Mine. I want it for me, for my family, whatever the hell it is that I want. Mine. I want my freedom back. When we have the military-industrial complex screaming because all of the fleecing, all the butchering, all the shearing that they've done of the livestock, the American people and the planet, and all of a sudden it's still not enough. I mean, it'll never be enough. Till the point there isn't any more you can produce, then really bad things start happening. Because in the end, freedom always wins. It just gets really, really messy first. Now, during that time, you'll have a counter to that. People, if you weren't using all the, you know how much a bomb costs, a drone attack, a Hellfire missile impact? If we took that money and did what we wanted to do with it, then everything would be better. It never, ever addresses stop stealing it from me in the first place. That's my opinion. Now we have Chris Hellman. Now, he's from the National Priorities Project. Now, they are tracking the evil uses of the money, and they want to advocate better uses of the money. Yeah, you understand my opinion. Now it's your turn to give your spiel. I want to make sure you go ahead and share with us that I'm going to be happy about you taking my money to do another noble cause. What is the noble cause?
Well, we don't actually have a noble cause. Our noble cause goes back to what President Eisenhower was saying about the necessity of vigilance on the part of the American people as to what was going on with the process. We're supporters of vigilance. We believe that a better informed electorate makes better choices, and ultimately budgeting is about prioritization. Whether you want to keep it in your pocket or spend it on something else, that's making a choice.
Well, this is one thing that's a good point. A better informed populace. What do you think the threat is of the government getting involved in internet control, censoring, biometric, check on you're not allowed to inform your neighbors kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I'm a great believer in the value of the First Amendment and unregulated speech, no matter how no matter how distasteful it is. I remember being at I was a congressional staffer for 10 years in Washington in the 80s and 90s, and I remember being at a presentation about flag burning that was being held in front of a bunch of veterans who were supportive of an amendment to the Constitution to ban flag burning. And one of the people who opposed the amendment stood up and said, face it, the First Amendment is really for assholes. It's not to protect speech we like, it's to protect speech we don't like. In fact, it's to protect speech we hate. So I think that, government's role in promoting the First Amendment is probably one of its most important, despite how we might use that. But I think that anytime the government steps in to regulate speech or the flow of information, it's incumbent on us to be very, very leery of how and why they're attempting to do it.
Well, I'm looking for, from certainly the left, as we have a Democratic president in there to kind of hold his feet to the fire. I mean, this is, see, a lot of people, certainly from a libertarian perspective, you're assuming I see a difference. It doesn't matter, Bush, Obama, Republican, Democratic Congress. It doesn't make any difference. Government keeps expanding, and our rights keep diminishing every single time. So I'm looking for when this happens, and they come after the internet. And how hard are you going to fight against a biometric interface to be able to post on your Facebook?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that we're going to have to wait and see until it happens. And one of the things that's intriguing that you just said, and I agree with it wholeheartedly, is that when I met my first libertarians, because growing up in New England we didn't have those. They made the point that you did, that Democrats and Republicans are identical in one way, which is government. They make government bigger. Government's
going to keep getting bigger. We'll talk about more when we come back here on Declare Your Independence in just a little bit with Chris Hellman. This is Ernest Hancock. I'm publisher of freedomsphoenix.com and the radio talk show host of Declare Your Independence. Now, I want to give you my personal endorsement of a wealthy U.S. citizen that is predicting that in 2011, we will witness the most important day in America in more than 50 years. He's produced a video for you. It's a real eye-opener, and I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to watch it. www.endofamerica, the numbers 1 and 7.com. endofamerica17.com. This video has the history of how we got where we are now and where we're going and why. Now, it's a lengthy video. It'll be about 20 minutes, but you need to watch this so you understand what's going to happen to this country and how you can protect your wealth and even benefit financially. Now, you go there. It's free. I want you to watch this video. You need to have this information so that you can survive the economic collapse that's coming to America. It's not if, it's when. That's endofamerica, the numbers 1 and 7.com. After you watch it, you'll understand why I endorse it.